Hello YouTube family, Facebook family, biological family, friends, and new acquaintances. I'm Carol Cortez on assignment, and that's called Mission Possible to bless us all. Welcome to AHEAD. That's an acronym for Achievers, Happy, Encouraged, Accomplished, and Determined. That's what I am, and I trust that's what you are also. Today our subject is Meet the Producer and Director. And our guest is Ramfis Myrthil. And I want you to please join me with welcoming Ramfis. And I subtitled this broadcast, Young, Gifted, Talented, Determined, and Accomplished. So welcome, ma'am.
Thank you for welcoming, Carol. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Happy to be here.
You're welcome. So Ramfis is going to give us some insight in the filmmaking industry and also with his particular assignments that he fills. So Ram, let me ask you, about when did you join the filmmaking industry and what enticed you to join?
I got involved in the industry the end of 2005 as an actor. At the time I was running an auto club with a dear friend of mine, and this friend happened to be training with Michael Imperioli from the show called The Sopranos, and he was casted in a movie, and he said, Ramfis, I know you just shot this guerrilla style video for MTV, but I think you should come and read for this role. And at first I was not interested, but after he badgered me a bit, I said I'll go and read, and I got a callback for this read, and then I got a couple more callbacks, and then I took it a little bit more seriously. And then after that, I went and got my 8x10 headset, started doing extra work, worked on a movie called American Gangster with Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe. And then I worked on a TV series called My Naked Brothers Band. And then from there, I started doing student films. And then eventually I got an agent and manager, and I went in for like legit material. And along the way I had befriended this woman named Charlotte Dubois, who had done a lot of theater work. She had become good friends with Blair Underwood, King Woodbine, Samuel L. Jackson, and Denzel Washington, and she was cast in a movie called First Sunday with Ice Cube and Tracy Morgan and Cat Williams, and I had gone to the premiere in LA, and I had met the head of Screen Gems, a gentleman by the name of Clint Culpepper. And while there, Clint and John Singleton and Tim Story, they all entertained what I had to say as a filmmaker. So I decided at that point that I didn't want to just act anymore. I had just come off an audition for this movie called The Express with Dennis Quaid and Rob Brown. It's about the first African American to win a Heisman Award. And I was a little upset at the fact that I didn't get it. And I wanted to control my own destiny, so at that point, that's when I decided I wanted to produce.
So at one point you were making films too, right?
Yeah, I started with a short film called One Last Fix in 2008. I think we got like lights from Home Depot. It was super low budget. We made sure we fed our crew. That's the most important thing. A fed crew is a happy crew. But that was my first short film. I was the assistant director, I was the producer, I was one of the stars in it, and my business partner at the time was the director, producer, and the lead in it, essentially.
So at one point, didn't the two of you win an award, a film award, or recognition at one of the films that you developed?
Well, what happened was that in 2012, we were hit with Hurricane Sandy in New York. It devastated a lot of people, and Adam was hit more than I was at the time, so he was out without power for I think a few weeks. I was a few days. So what we went ahead and did is that we went to the city of Long Beach and we followed a couple that had lost everything, and with this short documentary that we created, we used that to go raise money for the city of Long Beach, and we donated that money, and then we got a proclamation award because of that. That was the award that you're referring to with that short that we created. Our company at the time had produced a film called Bridge and Tunnel, which is on Amazon, and that toured the festival circuit, and that won many awards and accolades. That that was in 2013.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And again, what was that film?
It's called Bridge and Tunnel.
Bridge and Tunnel. Now, how long was it since you first started your film production company, and then before you got into producing and directing? About what was the span of time?
I started producing as like a DBA in 2006. I got incorporated in 2007, and then I started directing maybe 2 years ago or so.
So what are some of the current projects that you have worked on and what you're currently working on?
Well, we just announced recently this project called Tolerance that we're going to be making next year. It is based off the events that happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. So it's inspired by the events. It's not an actual, like based off a true story. So we're putting the components of that, to shoot next year, and have an amazing team. We're going out to cast and building it. And then besides that, I have a few films that are in post-production, a biopic on Mary Pickford. She was a woman that was ahead of her time. She was one of the first females to run an independent studio. And her, Charlie Chapman, D.W. Griff, they started United Artists. So this is a film that we shot maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. It's been in post-production for a while, and we'll be pushing that out sometime next year. And I have another film that's coming out of post called 8 Slices that will be playing next week at the Cucarulas Film Festival in Wilmington, North Carolina. So that's the next one that's going to go.
Now, you helped out with a recent project, and that was the movie called A Boy, a Girl, a Dream.
Yeah, that was an amazing project. So that film went to Sundance. That was at Sundance Film Festival this year. It was in the next category in competition, and it was bought by Samuel Goldwyn Films in April of this year, and it was released in September. So I owe it all to Qasim Bashir. He's the writer-director. I worked with him on his first movie, Muslim, and I worked on the tail end of the film. Not during production, but marketing and grassroots marketing and pushing the film out, and just pretty much being his right hand. So when A Boy, a Girl, a Dream, when I first heard about it, it was a no-brainer that I wanted to work with Qasim again. We shot it in LA last spring, and it was a one-take film, and it was extremely difficult, but everyone believed in Qasim, and that's why we all got involved, and it was a really good team. Datari Turner was the person that put the financing together, and it was all relationship based. All the actors came on because of the relationships to the director and to Datari, and I was just blessed to, for Qasim to want me to be on the team, to be a part of it.
So who were some of the performers that acted in the movie?
So Amari Hardwick is the lead. He's on A So-Called Power. That's on Stars. And then Megan Good is the female lead.
Okay.
She's done a million movies, Think Like a Man, a bunch of dance movies. Like, Megan Good's just done so much work. And Jay Ellis is the other third lead. He's in A So-Called Insecure. That's on HBO, that Issa Rae created. And then we have some guest appearances, some cameos throughout the movie.
I did see the movie, and I found it very good. I enjoyed it, and it was good to know that you collaborated on it. Now, you also worked on recently a movie called The Leroy Jones Story.
Yeah, so it's called A Man and His Trumpet, The Leroy Jones Story. It's a documentary about this well-known trumpet player out of New Orleans and his story coming up, and the people that came up under him, such as Harry Connick Jr., who's also in the documentary, and also Terrence Blanchard, who scored The Black Klansman and many of Spike Lee's films, and other well-known musicians. So it was very inspiring to be able to work with Leroy, because at the time coming up, it was during the Civil Rights Movement, so there was a lot of difficulty, being a trumpet player, to make money as a living doing that,
Right.
and being a person of color during these times. So it was just, it was an honor to be able to work with him and show his story.
So when that movie is I understand that it's right now in the film festival tour.
Correct, it's doing the film festival circuit.
So when do you think someone might be able to see it here in New York?
Well, we're probably going to be bringing it to a festival in February. It's not confirmed yet, so we'll probably be playing in February, somewhere in Midtown.
Okay.
But we're in talks with several companies that want to buy the film, so it would probably be available sometime late next year, I would imagine,
Okay.
for the general public to see.
So if someone wanted to get into this industry, what would you recommend? What pathway would you recommend that they take?
It's a very good question you asked me, Carol. Funny you should ask that. The first thing I always recommend is film school. I think film school is great because you learn from industry professionals, people that are experienced, that have the wisdom, knowledge, that have been out there. You learn from their mistakes, and you get to meet other like-minded people that you can grow with and work with. You know, there's a reason why you see Darren Aronofsky working with the same group of people each time. You know,
Okay.
he trusts these people, you know, and they have a certain work ethic. And this is where you build, you know, in film school, and you have the opportunity to make mistakes, you know, and not, you know, and not be punished for it or reprimanded for it. So I would say that is, you know, numero uno. If you don't have the financial resources to be able to afford film school, then I recommend you know, doing internships, being a production assistant on anything and everything, just learning every department, learning sound, learning how to edit, learning lighting, learning camera, learning under the assistant director. That way you get a feel of all the responsibilities, and you can figure out what makes the most sense. And then obviously in a perfect world, you do both. You know, you substitute, you know, the time between an internship, doing production assistant work, and going to school.
Okay. Now, when it comes to being a filmmaker, and say you present a film a movie to be accepted in the film festival, I was asked a question to present to you. How do you bounce back if it's rejected? And what pathway to take if it's rejected?
So the reality is that every filmmaker wants to be at Sundance or Toronto, one of the big festivals, and it's a numbers game. You know, there's 13,000 submissions. They take 120 films from 30, 40 countries. And the reality of it is that when you do your festival submissions, you should build within your budget, you know, X amount of dollars to submit to festivals. So don't just look at Sundance, you know, look at, you know, maybe Santa Barbara, which is in the same month of January, which is a great festival. It's an Oscar qualifier. Or you look at Slamdance, which is running at the same time as Sundance. And if you get into Slamdance, it's kind of like you're at Sundance anyway, because everyone is there. Or Palm Springs, you have multiple options. So it just makes sense to have different tier festivals. Obviously, you want to go for your A-list, but there's nothing wrong with being at a B-list festival or a different tier festival. At the end of the day, you know, if it's your first film, it's really about getting your name out there. You can still be at, I would say, a different tier festival and get your name out there, get the buzz to build momentum to do your next project. I've seen it happen recently to a colleague of mine that had I would say a decent major film with some big stars in it at a smaller festival, and it was right place, right time. Somebody seen it, they liked it, they recommended it to someone at Fox, and someone made a big acquisition, and they made 5 times their return on this, and it just happened at a small festival. It's all about cultivating relationships, you know, at the end of the day. So just because you're at a big festival doesn't guarantee something. You submit as many places as possible in the beginning.
So, when it comes to being a producer-director, what is your day like in terms of how much time you have to put into a work day, how busy it is with the fluctuations? Give us some insight.
Well, the thing I love about being an independent producer is that I don't have anyone to answer to. I answer to myself in a sense. I mean, of course I have to answer the financiers, but every day is different. Like this morning I met with a talent management company that also does TV, you know, so the meeting was about, you know, what do they have that I can get involved with and vice versa, and then do I have anything TV-wise, because they can finance. And then I met with a financier that finances against jewelry and painting and things like that. And then I met with a filmmaker that is doing a film slate of, you know, like $20 million. And, you know, like, what do you have that can fit? And then I'm going to be meeting with my team, which that is here. And then we're going to an event. So every day is kind of different in terms of like my responsibilities. I work on multiple projects, and I have to figure out, you know, how much time do I want to put into each one, what makes the most sense. You know, if I have 10 projects, I'm not giving them all the same amount of time. The projects that have the most momentum, I push along. And if I'm wrapping up on a project in terms of whether it's gotten distribution or the festival circuit, then maybe I'm not doing as much. I'm putting more time into the projects that need more attention. Or if I'm going into production on something, then I put more leverage, or I lean more on that project. So I just have to assess my day, assess the time. I mean, I get up at, you know, 5, 6 in the morning, and I go to sleep at 1, 2 in the morning. So I'm constantly working. I deal with people on the West Coast in LA on a constant basis, and I deal with people in Europe that's 6 hours, 7 hours, 9 hours ahead. So for me, there's no time zone. I don't really clock out at a certain time. It's, you know, it's more than just a job. You know, it's a part of my lifestyle.
Yes.
I work every day, weekends, holidays, it doesn't matter, you know, so I don't really clock out.
Well, Ram, I want to mention that I've known you for quite a few years, and I just want to insert this, that when I first met you, I found it exceedingly impressive, your commitment to what you wanted to aspire to and what you wanted to accomplish. So I just want to say that for me, watching your journey, the little snippet that I've gotten to see has been very, very inspiring and encouraging, and that's why I wanted you to step before people on my YouTube channel and give people insights to this particular industry so that they too might understand the pathway a little bit better. Because when you don't know an industry, you don't really understand how to enter, and then to have the stick-to-itiveness that you have had to ascend to the level that you've accomplished. So I want to say thank you for being my guest. And if there's anything more that you would like to share with the viewers that I might have omitted inadvertently, I encourage you, please share it with them, because we have viewers that want to one day take the pathway that you took, or to you know, accomplish getting into the filmmaking industry.
Thank you really for the kind words.
It's the truth.
I really appreciate what you're sharing. I guess the last piece I'll leave with is that, you know, it's been, you know, about a 12-year investment. You know, it's been maybe a little bit longer than that, you know, so it didn't take overnight. You know, people ask me, you know, why is it so easy? How am I doing all these projects at once? It was a lot of investment, you know. I'd read this book, this really amazing book by Kevin Trudeau, and the two things that he had specified in there is like your willingness to learn, and meaning like what are you willing to sacrifice, you know, to get to the next level. I'm not saying give up your soul, but like how much manpower are you willing to put in a day, and what sacrifices are you willing to give up? A hobby that you love, like if you love to go golf all the time, like are you willing to not golf and spend time on your craft, and you know, and then willingness to change, you know. This is a business where the model is always changing, distribution is always changing. You have to be open-minded and be flexible, and the reality of it is that you're going to fall on your face a lot of the times. This manager that I was sitting with today, you know, he was an attorney and he was just tired of doing what he was doing, and you know, he started this little boutique management company, and you know, now, you know, he's thriving. It took a lot of years and dedication, and you know, and he's able to do anything he pretty much wants. And it was a lot of failure, and he represents, you know, two very huge writer-directors that are in the business, and he's telling me even with them, you know, sometimes, you know, Universal will pass on them, and wait a second, they have a franchise, you know, like how can this be? But the reality of it in this business is that you will fail a lot, and you know, don't take that as discouragement. It means you have to get up and keep working and hustling. And I've dealt with a tremendous amount of rejection, and I still deal with rejection on a daily basis, whether I'm pitching a financier or I'm pitching a distributor or an actor. It just comes with the territory. So I just say perseverance, you know, consistency, and being goal oriented and having, you know, some kahunas on you.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
so taking risk is the risk versus the rewards at the end of the day.
Well, I want to thank you again, Ram, for being my guest, and I want to say in closing, thank you to everyone that's viewed in on this YouTube channel. Thank you for everyone that gave me a thumbs up for the presentations that you've seen here, and I ask that you please continue to view the channel. We have various guests from time to time covering many different topics. Currently I have many broadcasts concerning saving money successfully, covering your basis with legal coverage. And also I have on YouTube as well as Facebook the subject of investing in corporate stocks simplified. So thank you for viewing in. Please, if you would, share this information with other people and subscribe. If you would, ring the bell. When you ring the bell, you'll be instantly notified whenever I upload another broadcast. So thank you so much. I ask that you please stay blessed, stay encouraged, and stay connected with me. And we'll talk to you real soon.